All right, everyone, there's a few brand new Switch stories that dropped that we got to talk about today, starting with a ridiculously fun-looking wrestling game by the name of Action Arcade Wrestling that got a brand new trailer, and we got to cover it here. Then a big warning to all Switch users who are either going to be giving or maybe receiving a Switch this Christmas season, as there is a couple steps you will want to take before you gift or receive that console. Then the big talking point for today's video is a large update around really all gaming consoles going forward, as we now have some reason to believe that this chip shortage could last clear into 2023. What's up, Nation? If it's your first time on the channel, make sure you join Sunbro Nation by subscribing below, hit the like button on this video if you enjoy it today, and make sure you turn on your bell notification icon so you're kept up to date with all the newest gaming news. Now, as I mentioned, guys, we're hopping through a few different stories today, and I actually want to kick it off with a very exciting one for me, as there is a Action Arcade Wrestling game by the name of Action Arcade Wrestling that is actually scheduled to go live on the Switch in 2022, and we got a brand new trailer, and this game is out on other platforms currently. I have not personally checked it out, but I would love to know in the comments if any of you have played this, what you think of it, because when I saw this trailer today, and I kid you not, I literally smiled ear to ear. Like, I literally saw this, was like, this is a wrestling game that I have to play. It does claim to take some inspiration from WWF WrestleMania as well as Saturday Night Slam Masters, and I just think that this game looks like too much fun. I mean, you're suplexing Christmas trees and snowmen in the trailer that we saw today. You have ridiculously long jumps that you can do with two-handing a candy cane to beat people up, and it's obviously a holiday themed trailer that dropped today, but this is going to be a day one pickup on the Switch when it does launch for me. And I, as somebody who grew up playing specifically WWF WrestleMania 2000 on the N64, and then also No Mercy later on, and then I even super enjoyed the PS2 era of SmackDown games like SmackDown Here Comes the Pain, Shut Your Mouth, and all that good stuff. Like, there was definitely a heyday for wrestling games, and whatever they're doing right now with the whole 2K thing is kind of ridiculous in my opinion, and unfortunately I don't get into those near as much as I used to enjoy the old school wrestling games. But regardless of what direction they go in the future, I am hopeful that AEW's game, with working with Yuke's Entertainment and all of that, will hopefully come out to be a quality one. But until then, this is definitely going to scratch that itch that I've been missing as far as having a really fun, enjoyable, arcade, kind of unrealistic style wrestling games, because whenever the moves look ridiculous and over the top, that is to me some of the funnest moments to be had. And I do want to quickly read through a few features that you can expect out of this game as transcribed by Nintendo Life, so let's quickly jump through that together. Retro gameplay, action satisfaction, intuitive 2-button controls allows players of all ages and skill levels to easily jump into arcade wrestling mayhem. A match for every style, over 25 playable game modes are planned, including 1 vs 1, tag team, 3-way match, 4-way match, 4 to 10 person elimination matches, tornado tag, battle royal, and more. Roster of extraordinary wrestlers, choose from 30 plus unique superhero-like wrestlers that you won't find anywhere else. Old school flair, 3D cel-shaded visuals bring a vibrant throwback arcade look that captures the outrageous and colorful past of wrestling games. Animated madness, over 700 handcrafted animations to perfectly capture the moment and antics that make AAW unique to the wrestling world. Customization galore, the free creation suite puts more creative power in the hands of players. Loads of wrestler and arena options are available, including body morphing, texture uploads, UV mapping, moveset assignments, physics-based accessories, and more. Create fearsome monsters, favorite superheroes, wrestling icons, go crazy with the creative freedom of the WrestleLab. So like I said, as somebody who grew up with those classic wrestling games and really enjoys a little bit of some more unrealistic stuff taking place in these wrestling games, I could not be more excited for this game. Definitely sold for a day one pickup for me, but I want to hear from you guys in the comments down below. Maybe share with me some of your nostalgia and what your favorite wrestling games were over the course of time, and if you played them growing up like I did, and then definitely let me know if this one caught your interest like it did for me, and if you will be planning on getting it in its 2022 release on the Nintendo Switch. Now, the next story we're talking about today is a warning straight from Nintendo support themselves, as they are expecting some server overload to take place over the Christmas season. And if you are either gifting or receiving a Nintendo Switch console, there is a couple steps that you will want to follow to make sure you're not basically somebody who either just gave maybe your kid or your niece or nephew or somebody, and they're all excited you just gave them a Nintendo Switch, and then they actually try to power on the console and all they can do is stare at the stock stuff that came on the Switch because they can't get a Nintendo account, which ultimately means they can't, download anything from the eShop. So to kick off the story, I do want to read through the exact quote from Nintendo support themselves so you know what they are expecting, and then some couple steps that you could take to alleviate this issue and make sure that you're not affected whether you are giving or receiving a new Switch this Christmas season. So Nintendo support tweeted out the following statement: "This weekend, access will be concentrated on the server of the Nintendo account, and it is expected that the Nintendo account will not be created immediately. If you are planning to use the Nintendo Switch family for the first time, we recommend that you create it in advance." So this will be one of those steps that you can just really easily hop into Nintendo's website and create a My Nintendo account, and then you could even, to take it a step further and just make sure you're not going to have any issues, unbox the Switch and take it out of its retail packaging, set it up, turn it on, and sign into that Nintendo account, or you could create it on the Switch itself, however you want to do that. But the idea is to at least have the registered email or some registered email that you want to use for your My Nintendo account and have it active and set up ahead of time, because as Nintendo clearly states, they are expecting server overload, which means like how we recently saw a eShop outage and nobody could connect to the servers, and it even affected some people from being able to boot up games. So hopefully, you know, the games that they purchased digitally. So hopefully we're not looking at this time around, but historically during this holiday season where so many new Nintendo accounts are getting set up, there is definitely the expectation that we are going to have outages over the Christmas weekend. So I would definitely recommend you guys to go ahead and take those extra steps now, like I said, whether you're gifting or receiving the console, just because it's going to be something to be aware of, because there's nothing worse than having your hype levels set to maximum and you want to go ahead and download Mario Kart 8 Deluxe, because of course that's what everybody does when they get a brand new Nintendo Switch, and that's why we will never see a Mario Kart 9 hit retail shelves. But you know, you're probably going to want to download that game, and you're probably going to need to get your account created ahead of time so you don't have to just sit there with the stock apps that you really can't do much at all on the Nintendo Switch with. So just wanted to put that warning out there. Let me know in the comments down below if you are gifting or receiving a Switch this holiday season, and you know, if you know you're receiving it, it's like also share the story with me why you know you're receiving that, because you shouldn't know. You should keep it as a surprise. But that's regardless, neither here nor there. Regardless, I want to hear from you guys in the comments down below on all things new Nintendo Switch in the Christmas season. Now, the last story we're talking about today is really some, you know, expected but also unfortunate confirmation of a word that we used to never say, but now you hear it said online all the time, and that is chip shortage. And unfortunately, this affects all things in the gaming industry directly, as obviously the technology that we love in the Nintendo Switch is manufactured by multiple different companies that all produce these chips that allow us to have these fantastic gameplay experiences, whether you are playing it portably or on your home TV. So it is an unfortunate update to see that we may be in this scenario that we are in today, with not being able to walk into a retail store and just easily find a console all the way up until 2023. And while this will of course be the case for your Xbox Series X and PS5, as those use newer chipsets, there is still some reason to believe that Nintendo Switch supply will be scarce as we go into these upcoming years. So to kick off this conversation, I do want to hop over to Nintendo Life, where they have some exact comments transcribed from the head over at Intel around when we can hopefully expect this chip shortage to finally ultimately end. Global chip shortages and supply issues continue into 2023, says Intel boss. He's quoted saying, "Exploding demand has persisted. We've already heard how supply and production issues in the tech industry won't be improving anytime soon, and now Intel chief Pat Gelsinger has issued yet another reminder that the shortage of semiconductors will likely continue into 2023. He's quoted here saying, "The overall semiconductor shortage is quite significant, and the semiconductor industry was growing about 5% per year before COVID. COVID disrupted the supply chains, causing it to go negative. Demand exploded to 20% year over year and disrupted supply chains created by a very large gap. And that exploding demand has persisted. It just takes time to build this capacity to respond to the spike." While the American semiconductor manufacturer has no ties with Nintendo's hybrid console, the Japanese video game maker has already expressed concerns about keeping up with the consumer demand of its own hardware. The extended impact of both COVID-19 and the global semiconductor shortage creates a state of continued uncertainty, with the possibility of future impact on production and shipping. While these and other unforeseen risks exist, we continue to take all necessary measures in conducting business. Toshiba and Nvidia, the company that supplies the Switch's custom Tegra processor, are also facing their own shortages and supply issues right now. Toshiba mentioned how some customers may not be fully served until 2023, and noted how game console makers have some of the strongest demands. They're quoted here saying, "Game console makers are among the customers making the strongest demands, and we're sincerely sorry for their frustration, as none of them have a 100% satisfaction." So this is obviously one of those just unfortunate buckle up and wait it out scenarios here, as you know, neither you or I are directly in control of the global chip crisis that's happening right now and slowly unfolding. And of course, because of the spike in demand for all of these chips and really just supply chain issues overall because of the real world situation we've all been going through here, it's just created the perfect storm of we're not going to be able to easily walk into stores and find our consoles like we used to back in the day. And there's also obviously the whole frustration with ridiculous scalping going on online and people trying to flip these consoles for double and triple price. And of course, that's happening more on the PS5 and Series X side of things just because they are the more rare consoles. But just a warning and kind of an update for you guys, if you are planning on maybe upgrading to something like an OLED model or getting somebody else in your family on the Switch platform, you may have to ride this out for a while and continue to just, you know, stay in the know with when retail drops happen, mostly online. And my quick advice and tip to you guys, if you are searching for any of the consoles, regardless if it's Switch, PS5, or Series X, is to go create a Twitter account. Follow me on there if you haven't already. I would appreciate that. But also follow Wario64 as he tweets out stock updates religiously. If you don't want all the stock updates, because he actually does a broad variety of different ones, there's also accounts out there that just track Nintendo Switch stock specifically, or, you know, just the next gen console stock specifically. So do some research on that. Twitter is a great place for that to happen because they are very quick about getting the information out. If you have notifications turned on your phone, regardless of where you are at work during the middle of the day or something, you can quickly glance and see that a new drop has happened and then try to get through the checkout process as quick as possible. Also, one other pro tip you'll want to do is set up your accounts with all of those retailers, the major ones online, such as here in the US, obviously, you know, your Target, your Walmart, definitely Amazon, and then even Best Buy and things like that. So make sure you have like your account details already created, your shipping address is already saved, maybe even your card is saved on file so you don't have to do any of that stuff. Then really the scenario now for finding new technology hardware related to chips, whether it be graphics cards or PS5s or Switch, you name it, is to be ready to go whenever a notification comes out with an online restock. And you just have to be quick enough to the punch to hopefully beat those ridiculous bots that try to grab everything up and flip them on eBay. But I want to hear from you guys in the comments down below what your experience has been recently with hunting down consoles specifically. And if you are somebody who, you know, obviously games on maybe multiple platforms such as me, were you able to find a PlayStation 5 or Series X this generation? Are you still on the hunt for those? And have you had any difficulties finding stuff like the Switch OLED or even the Switch base model and Switch Lite? So I do look forward to hearing from you guys on all the different stories we talked about today, as I do look forward to getting a back and forth conversation started with you all around these topics. Thanks so much for watching the video today, everyone. I do truly appreciate you all sticking around until the end. I do at this point in the video want to invite you all one more time to join Sunbro Nation if you haven't done so already. Do so by subscribing below, hit the like button on your way out if you enjoyed it today, and make sure you turn on your bell notification icon so you're kept up to date with all the newest gaming news. That's going to do it for me, guys. I hope you all have a great day. Sunbro Nation, out.